Modern humanity often suffers from a peculiar form of intellectual arrogance. We look at ourselves as the absolute pinnacle of cognitive evolution. We assume that the way we weave narratives, construct superheroes, and design visual media today is a groundbreaking product of the 21st century. But let us conduct a dangerous thought experiment. When you look at the stone walls inside the pyramids or the ancient tombs of Luxor, what do you actually see? Stiff historical records? The dead incantations of a forgotten religion? Now, bring those exact same walls to a modern Marvel comic book artist. They won't see ancient history. They will see something terrifyingly familiar. The first comic book in human history. For millennia, we have been taught that hieroglyphs are merely a complex, sacred writing system. But if we strip away the layers of mysticism, the ancient Egyptian scribes were utilizing the exact same storytelling mechanics used by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, or modern manga creators today. So, a haunting question arises. What if the builders of the pyramids were simply the comic book creators of their era? And what happens if a modern Marvel illustrator is thrown back 4,000 years into the Nile Valley? Would they be cast out as heretics or immediately recruited by the pharaoh to carve a new cosmic mythology? Let us dissect this from the perspective of art theory and psychology. How exactly does the imagination flow inside the mind of an ancient carver compared to a modern comic artist? The core definition of a comic book is sequential art, consecutive images juxtaposed to create the illusion of time, movement, and narrative space. Consider the Book of the Dead, composed around 1300 BC. Painted upon sheets of papyrus, we find an epic adventure. Our protagonist, the soul of the deceased, must navigate the gates of the underworld, battle cosmic abominations, have his heart weighed by Anubis, and ultimately stand before Osiris.
I am Osiris, Lord of Eternity. I rule the netherworld with justice.
If you read this from right to left, you are looking at a storyboard. Each segment of the wall is divided by vertical borderlines. In the modern comic industry, we call these borders gutters. Their function is identical: to partition space so the human brain understands when one event transitions into the next. But their innovation did not stop there. Ancient Egyptian artists faced the exact same structural dilemma as modern comic illustrators. How do you inform the audience of what a character is saying or thinking without ruining the composition? The answer sits directly next to the heads of the gods. Notice the columns of tiny hieroglyphs stacked vertically right beside the faces of Thoth or the pharaoh. That is not random decoration. That is a script. It is a direct quote of what that specific character is uttering at that exact moment. Functionally, it is the earliest iteration of the speech bubble. The only difference? They did not draw a white circle around the text. They utilized the negative space between the carvings. In the comic book medium, there is an unwritten law regarding scale. When an artist draws the Hulk standing next to an ordinary human, the Hulk is rendered exponentially larger to visually communicate dominance, raw power, and his status as a superhuman entity. This technique is known in art history as Hieratic Scale, and guess who perfected it? The ancient pyramid carvers. On the walls of Abu Simbel, Ramesses II is depicted as a colossus holding an axe, trampling hundreds of enemies who are drawn the size of insects. Did the Egyptian artists lack the skill to draw realistic perspective? Of course not. But much like a Marvel editor today, they knew that realism must be sacrificed for the sake of drama. They wanted the reader's eye to immediately lock onto the superhero, the pharaoh blessed with cosmic, godlike power. Even their rendering of human anatomy was inherently stylized, almost comical. The human body in Egyptian art is perpetually drawn with the chest facing forward, but the head and legs facing sideways. It is a physical posture impossible for a living human to maintain without fracturing bones. Yet, to a comic artist, this is pure genius. This specific posture provides the most distinct, dynamic silhouette from any viewing angle. It is a character branding technique designed for instant recognition from a distance, strikingly similar to how the S shield on Superman's chest or Spider-Man's mask must always remain perfectly visible in the chaos of an action sequence. But behind all these shared mechanics, a deeper mystery remains. What was the true intent behind their imagination? This is where we encounter a profound philosophical divergence, the ultimate intent of the creative mind. The modern comic book artist hallucinates worlds with the intent of creating escapism. They engineer superheroes to offer a temporary refuge, a brief exit from a mundane, hyper-bureaucratic modern existence driven by economic anxiety. In stark contrast, the ancient Egyptian artist fantasized with an intent that was terrifyingly absolute, immortalization and the magical subjugation of reality itself. To the Egyptian mind, carving an image into limestone was not an act of fiction. Through the psychological and metaphysical concept of Heka, the magic of words and images, anything committed to a visual medium became active reality in the afterlife.
I am Heka, Lord of Magic.
If they chiseled a sequence of the pharaoh slaying a crocodile-headed demon, then in the dimension of the dead, that event would physically manifest. Their stream of imagination was a bridge built to fuse the mortal with the eternal. They were not entertaining an audience, they were locking destiny in place. They were constructing a permanent alternative reality with a mallet and a chisel. Yet, human imagination does not always possess a structured, functional anchor like the tombs of Egypt or the scripts of Marvel. On rare occasions, the human mind can slip entirely into its own labyrinth, untethered from the world. The most haunting monument to this cognitive anomaly is the Voynich Manuscript. Written in the 15th century using an elegant, untranslatable script that has broken the minds of the world's greatest cryptographers, many assume this manuscript is a forbidden grimoire of sorcery or an alien cipher. But through the lens of creative psychology, the truth is likely far simpler and far more unsettling. The Voynich Manuscript is highly probable to be a monument of raw, unadulterated world-building. It is the lifelong work of an ancient creator whose brain operated precisely like a modern fantasy or sci-fi author. They engineered an entirely new reality, complete with its own flora, cosmic charts, and structural linguistics. The tragic difference? A modern comic creator has an industry, a publisher, and an audience to receive their hallucinations. The author of the Voynich was trapped in an era where an imagination this volatile had no place in society. The result is a relic of pure isolation. A comic book without panels, a complex mythology without a single believer. Voynich stands as living proof that the human brain has always possessed an innate, terrifying capacity to vomit forth entirely new realities. even if it means being completely misunderstood by time itself. We now arrive at the ultimate climax of this paradox. If a legendary Marvel illustrator were to step through a tear in time into ancient Egypt, they would not be outcasts. They would be ushered into the Per-Ankh, the House of Life, the elite royal art studios working under the direct supervision of the high priests. They would spend their days sketching cosmic entities with animal heads using iron chisels and mineral pigments. And this triggers a deeply unsettling inversion of logic. If that historical convergence had occurred, and we, digging through the desert sands today, discovered the emblems of modern superheroes chiseled onto the walls of a pristine pyramid, would we worship them as gods? Historically and sociologically, the answer is an undeniable yes. Psychologically, humanity is bound by what Carl Jung identified as the archetypes, the structural blueprints of the collective unconscious. We possess an eternal, hard-coded psychological need for figures who embody idealized human virtues but wield cosmic, reality-bending power. In antiquity, this archetype manifested as Horus, Thoth, or Osiris. Today, it manifests as Captain America, Iron Man, or Thor. The boundary separating sacred mythology from popular fiction is not determined by the quality of the narrative. It is dictated entirely by time and distance. When a story of superhuman figures is granted the weight of millennia, that fiction automatically crystallizes into theology. The way you imagine today is not a random trait evolved for casual amusement or capital profit. It is the single greatest psychological inheritance left behind by your ancestors. We have never actually invented anything new. We are merely continuing to write the exact same colossal comic book that began at the dawn of human consciousness. So, the next time you sit in a dark theater watching a superhero film, or when you stare at the glowing screen of your phone in the dead of night, understand that you are not experiencing modernity. You are participating in the exact same visual ritual enacted inside the pitch-black chambers of the pyramids 4,000 years ago. Your mind is a living, breathing, ancient artifact. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Codex Obscura.